Just a couple of days ago, it was announced the WNBA Players Union had voted to authorize a strike against the NBA owners. I just say NBA owners because every team is owned by an NBA owner except for two. All right? And they're trying to get one of those to an NBA owner, which is the Houston Rockets owner. And they announced that they brave, stunning, and courageously would authorize a strike.
David Sampson understands how owners think because he has been one. As a former president of the Miami Marlins, Sampson has spent years inside high-level labor negotiations, balancing financial reality against public perception. When he says that NBA ownership will draw a hard line on revenue sharing and shut the WNBA down before crossing it, he's not speculating. He's describing a mindset shaped by decades of experience. The central conflict is simple but deeply consequential. WNBA players are demanding a revenue-sharing structure similar to the NBA's 50-50 split of basketball-related income. Owners, meanwhile, are offering massive salary increases while refusing to share revenue from a league that operates at a loss every season. To ownership, this is not stubbornness. It is basic math. Revenue sharing only works when there is profit to distribute. The NBA generates billions annually and can afford to split income evenly with its players. The WNBA does not. It loses money year after year. Agreeing to revenue sharing under those conditions would mean locking owners into guaranteed losses with no clear path to sustainability. This is where the philosophical divide emerges. Players are arguing from principle, fairness, equality, and long-term recognition. Owners are arguing from survival, sustainability, cost control, and risk management. One side is focused on what feels just. The other is focused on what keeps the league operating at all. Sampson's warning is blunt but realistic. If ownership is forced to choose between continued losses with no structural limits or shutting the league down entirely, they may choose the latter. That would not be retaliation. It would be an exit strategy. NBA owners are not obligated to operate a league indefinitely at a loss, especially if negotiations become adversarial. For players, this is the uncomfortable truth of leverage. Principals do not pay mortgages if the league ceases to exist. Labor power only works when the employer needs the labor more than the labor needs the employer. In a league that has never been financially self-sustaining, that balance is far from clear.
Morning, because David Sampson, who's a really, really freaking smart sports business guy, came out and said the NBA is going to draw the line on revenue sharing, and they will draw the line to the point of shutting the WNBA's doors down. They are not going to give the revenue sharing that the WNBA players want, and the women will compromise. And so I had a theory when I made that video that they did this to publicly save face.
The controversial comparison to a 5 feet 8 inches YouTuber isn't just internet mockery. It references a real, viral moment that shaped public perception. When casual fans watched a WNBA all-star struggle against an amateur content creator, then saw players demanding NBA-level compensation, the disconnect became glaring. Fair or not, perception matters, and the league is already fighting uphill in that arena. Authorizing a strike does not help win that battle. It reinforces negative stereotypes that the league is demanding financial rewards before earning economic stability. In the court of public opinion, that distinction matters immensely. The Players Association, led by Nneka Ogwumike, has framed the dispute as a fight for equality. But equality must be contextual. The NBA generates approximately $45 in revenue per viewer. The WNBA generates closer to $3. NBA players fill 20,000-seat arenas for 82 games a season at premium prices. WNBA players play 40 games in smaller venues with lower ticket prices. These are not value judgments, they are economic facts. Demanding identical revenue sharing structures while ignoring those fundamentals undermines credibility. Growth is happening, but it is still fragile. Sustainable progress requires patience, strategic negotiation, and an understanding of leverage. Right now, many fans fear the Players Association is confusing momentum with power and risking the league's future in the process.
So you mean to tell me y'all are not going to sign a deal where you get, let's call it a 7.5 to 8 times raise? You're not signing a deal with a 7 times salary increase. Let's just call it 7 times. Are you absurd? I mean, that's a great way for these players to lose the support of fans. By the way, they're losing the support of fans. Because the biggest
The WNBA Players Association has officially authorized a strike, and the reaction from much of the sports world has been shock and disbelief. Not because labor disputes are unusual, but because this situation is fundamentally different from almost every other strike fans have seen. The WNBA is not a profitable league. In fact, across its 27-year history, it has never turned a consistent profit. With the exception of 2 teams, every franchise is owned by NBA organizations that have absorbed financial losses for decades to keep the league alive. That context matters. For nearly 3 decades, NBA owners have subsidized operations, covered payroll gaps, and absorbed deficits while hoping the league would eventually stabilize. Now, just as the WNBA appears to be gaining real momentum for the first time, largely due to the arrival of a generational star, the Players' Union has threatened to halt operations entirely. What makes this decision even more puzzling is the offer reportedly on the table. Under the proposed deal, maximum salaries would rise from roughly $250,000 to nearly $2 million over the life of the agreement. That represents an increase of nearly 800%. Minimum salaries would more than double. Team salary caps would increase dramatically. By any historical standard, this would be the most significant financial improvement the league has ever offered its players. Yet the union rejected the proposal outright. For fans, the disbelief stems from timing as much as money. The league finally captured mainstream attention in 2024. Attendance surged. Television ratings exploded. Merchandise sales soared. The WNBA, for the first time in its existence, felt like it had real cultural relevance beyond its core audience. And instead of consolidating that progress, the union has chosen confrontation. From the outside, this looks less like a calculated labor move and more like a gamble. The league is still fragile. Its business model is still dependent on NBA backing. Threatening a strike under those conditions is not leverage in the traditional sense. It's a test of how much patience ownership still has. And patience, after nearly 30 years of losses, may finally be wearing thin.
This is not going to end well. The entire leadership is made up of players who have ownership stakes in other leagues. And it's beneficial for them to kill the WNBA. When are the rest of the players going to boot them out of their roles? Embarrassing as F. I still don't get it. I still don't get it. How that could be happening. I will stop watching the WNBA cold turkey like how I left my first wife. Don't mess this up. They definitely have the wrong players representing the players. And I don't understand why none of that's... There's things that go on in this league that would never, ever...
Scroll through social media reactions and a clear pattern emerges. The criticism aimed at the WNBA Players Association is not coming from trolls or bad faith actors. Much of it is coming from longtime supporters, people who have watched the league struggle, attended games, defended it publicly, and celebrated its growth. These fans are not rooting for failure. They are frustrated by what they see as self-sabotage. Many are openly questioning the union's leadership, calling the strategy embarrassing or reckless. Others are pointing out uncomfortable conflicts of interest, noting that some players involved in leadership roles also hold stakes in competing basketball ventures. To fans, the optics are troubling. If the WNBA stumbles or shuts down, alternative leagues suddenly gain talent, attention, and opportunity. This backlash is not rooted in misogyny or disrespect. It is rooted in fear that decades of slow progress are about to be undone. After 27 years of financial instability, the league finally showed signs of breaking through in 2024. And now that momentum is being put at risk over a revenue-sharing demand that, in the eyes of many fans, ignores economic reality. The numbers amplify that concern. The current collective bargaining agreement expires in October 2025. Ownership's proposal includes raising the team salary cap from $1.46 million to more than $3 million by the end of the deal. Individual maximum salaries would jump from approximately $249,000 to $1.9 million. Minimum salaries would more than double. These are transformative increases by historical standards. Yet the union's response was not negotiation, it was strike authorization. To fans, this feels disconnected from reality. You cannot demand a share of revenue that does not exist. You cannot negotiate as if you are the NBA when your league operates under entirely different financial constraints. Supporters who waited decades for stability now see the league's future being gambled away, and their frustration reflects genuine concern, not hostility.
The small interest I have to watch will be gone if they strike. Would anyone notice? A lot of people, they are getting clowned. They are actually getting clowned. They have a professional women's basketball league. When did that begin? The fan base is still not invested enough to sustain the league if they strike. No. I mean, it's crazy. The WNBA has never turned a profit for 30 years, meaning the NBA and more.
What many fans seem to grasp, and what critics argue the Players Association does not, is a basic economic principle. You cannot revenue share losses. The NBA's 50-50 split works because the league generates approximately $11 billion in annual revenue and produces substantial profits. Players are dividing a very large pie. The WNBA's pie, by comparison, is dramatically smaller. Estimates suggest the WNBA generates roughly $200 million in annual revenue while losing between $10 million and $40 million each year. Those losses have been covered by NBA ownership since the league's founding in 1997. Without that support, the WNBA would not exist in its current form. Demanding an identical revenue structure to a league that is roughly 40 times larger and profitable is not bold. It's economically incoherent. Context matters. Scale matters. Sustainability matters. The timing makes the situation even more precarious. The 2024 season delivered record attendance and viewership, driven largely by Caitlin Clark's rookie campaign. Indiana Fever games transformed from lightly attended events into sellouts. National television ratings for her games tripled. Merchandise sales surged. Sponsors took notice. Expansion discussions became serious. For the first time, the WNBA had genuine mainstream momentum. And at that exact moment, when leverage should have been used to strengthen partnerships, attract investment, and secure long-term